you were asking about how much of a balance between right brain and left brain there is, and how it is producing versus being an artist. And certainly, yeah, when you produce, you have to wear a bunch of hats. It's, I think, one of the hardest things about it is having to constantly be switching your hat from, I mean, it's not just right brain and left brain, although it is that, and it tends to be more, of course, left brain when you're producing versus being an artist, but you have to be able to access the right brain sort of creativity, or else you're going to end up with, productions that sound stale and overthought. So it is a thing of switching back and forth from analytical song structure stuff to analytical song to sound, all the, miking and thinking ahead to how you're going to mix it and how that affects your miking, and then also trying to get performances out of artists, which is kind of a right brain thing, but it's almost like a psychology, a combination of right and left brain. You're not being an artist, you're not just expressing yourself, but you're trying to coax an expression out of somebody. It's totally analogous to film directing, working with actors. How do you do that? Sometimes it's giving line readings. More often, it's forms of manipulation that often can make, you have to be able to be the bad guy. And I've been willing to do that, and I think it's sometimes painful. A lot of times getting a good performance, you can get a mediocre performance, you can get a performance where everything's in pitch, but getting a performance that really captures something beyond the song, which is what I'm always trying to do. I figure if it's not a great sort of once-in-a-lifetime performance of that song, then it's not the take. And getting that is sometimes sitting back and letting them do it, and sometimes it's pushing them, and sometimes it's breaking them down emotionally and trying to get them back to where the song was. And it's very, so, but at the same time, as the producer, you have to you're kind of the daddy in a way. You have to maintain your authority at the same time as you're somewhat manipulating the artist into the emotional state that you want to get them in. They can't be too emotional, though. It's a balance. You have to get it so that they're feeling it enough that they can deliver something, but not feeling it so much that they break down and can't perform. So that's kind of, I think, actually one of the biggest challenges of producing, unless you're doing a more of a sonic type production where it's really more about sound manipulation, which is a whole different thing. But if you're really working with getting performances, that's the hardest challenge actually of the whole thing. So more than, arranging is great. Arranging is fun, creative, all that stuff. The stuff that's just really hard is getting performances, because there's not really, it's an intangible thing, and you can't say, okay, here's what I want, I have a vision, and follow through and make it happen. It's more like trying to stoke a fire, and you don't know what the twigs are and what the, whether there's any kindling there, or if you can blow something up, it's just going to be a bullshit, like, little burst of energy, and you're not really getting anything you can use. That's because it's so nebulous. That's the hardest part, I would say.